every Redstoner agreed that, yeah, good job, Mojang, you did it. And they removed it.
Even though we are a very small community, the amount of people that actually use the redstone we make is giant.
Are they supposed to make a parity for that?
Everything that I'd ever made on both Bedrock and Java would be broken no matter how they did it.
Alright, let's get to the first prompt. Mojang doesn't listen to Redstoners. Can the agreeers step forward into the box?
Doesn't listen to Redstoners.
Yeah.
Interesting results.
Seems we're all in agreement here. It's been what? When was the copper bolt added to the game? Wasn't it like December or November or something?
I think it was even earlier.
Because it's been what, like 6 months at least
Yeah,
since it was
that's
added.
a long time.
How long have they ignored our feedback on it?
You see,
Yeah,
Have they responded at
And
all?
it's very weird because I did have a conversation with some of the developers to make sure that it wasn't for a parity reason, and they said that it wasn't. So I honestly don't know why they're so adamant about that change.
Yeah. It feels like an excuse, honestly.
It
Yeah,
feels
also-
like they're not being honest. Like they don't want to admit that the reason is parity, even though it pretty clearly is, in my opinion. We told them this is the perfect way it is. Don't change it. And what did they do? They changed it. And
yeah, and that
nobody
was
likes
after
that.
they confirmed that it was intended behavior.
Yeah. So it made literally no sense. They literally did not listen.
Really?
Literally.
We finally tell them they did something right, and then they're just like, that's weird.
Yeah,
that
or
was
perhaps-
literally it.
That's
Perhaps
not
they
right.
listened and then they just decided to not
Yeah.
appease us, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I
It
feel
was
like
weird.
most redstone related changes are not because of the redstoners themselves, but how they affect the normal players. So it's just more of like a coincidence rather than
Yeah.
them actually listening to redstoners.
I mean, we
Mhm.
are a pretty small minority.
That is the thing. Like, yeah, Redstone is like, I guess it's a much smaller part of the Minecraft community, and so anything Redstone related is less prioritized versus
Yeah.
like building stuff, PvP stuff, all that kind. Yeah,
For
Everything
sure.
Why would
else.
you care about the copper bulb when you can just like add a dolphin and suddenly you get millions of more 5-year-olds that want to buy Minecraft? Like,
True.
So on the
Yeah.
Bedrock side, any grievances on your side?
I
Yeah,
don't like Redstone.
because we do a lot of we've done some code digging, and there are some small bugs that are extremely important to how the game runs, and they're very simple to fix, and we have even implemented fixes on our server side, yet they refuse to fix them even though we have provided the exact solution, like the code itself, and they've seen it, they've confirmed they've seen it, but still we haven't gotten results.
The same thing goes for Java. There are bugs that people have presented fixes to Mojang for, and they just refuse to implement those fixes, even though it's been
Yep.
handed to them on a silver platter. Like,
Yep.
the work's been done for you. Just put it in the game.
I mean, it's not even about bugs. Like, there are clear optimizations, like lithium, sodium, all those optimization mods that Mojang could literally just like ask those people or like literally look
Yeah.
into the code and see how they implemented the changes, how they made, for example, the client rendering like 10 times faster, like in sodium. But they just choose to run the game on a 4080 at 50 FPS in vanilla.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say they did recently add a lot of the techniques used in the Starlight mod to the game, so the lighting engine isn't complete doo-doo anymore. But it took them way too long to do that. They should have done that ages ago.
Mech, do you want to step forward? Does the one disagreeer want to step forward and say their piece?
Well, the reason why, so like what game I came from was Little Big Planet. I loved Little Big Planet when it came out. Like, I sold my Xbox when that game came out because my philosophy was, if you can make a calculator in something, that's a game that's going to last forever.
Hell
because it allows you to make itself. And what my theory is Microsoft got Mojang because they were looking at this aspect of it. Like, more people have phones in their pockets, and if it is capable of like running a game like this that allows you to make a computer in itself, like, that is something, right? Us as Redstoners, what we want is like something that like a lot of people don't even have the gumption or dream to even like fathom. They like think somebody else is going to do it. The thing was like, does Microsoft listen to Redstoners? I think they're listening to us, but because we are like capable of literally in a game pulling ores out of the ground and making a fucking computer, they're like, they'll figure it out.
Whenever I've complained about something like that Mojang's done wrong, I get a lot of comments saying, "Oh, but this is what Redstone is all about. You should embrace the new challenge." But they're talking from a position from someone who doesn't do Redstone, so they don't understand the annoyance of having something you've spent lots of time on break.
And I do think it's the wrong approach from Mojang, is even though we are a very small community, the amount of people that actually use the redstone we make is giant. You know, every content creator is pulling farms in every single one of their playthroughs. They didn't design it, but they're still using it. So even though it technically affects the redstone community, it still affects the overall Minecraft community when they make iron farm changes, they make villager changes, everything. And I think they need to realize that part.
I agree.
That it just doesn't affect just Redstoners.
Literally every single Hermitcraft member has built an ENXO4 farm. Like, literally every single one.
Yeah, no, it's real. But for that answer, for that thing, are they listening to us? Most of you are like, no, they're not listening to us. I think they are. And this update might be like them saying like, all right.
I think what's frustrating from our side is we're not just, just kind of being ignored and having update after update without any redstone changes. You know, it's kind of boring, but it's fine. But then when they do add things and we give them feedback and we say, we love this, and then they walk back the thing that we love, that's just really frustrating. Or when they promise things and never deliver.
Yeah, like you said, the thing about coding it, like, we're not asking them to code a brand new thing. They already did it right. We're just asking them to revert it. Like, that's all.
It's exactly like people were saying, "Oh, but it will take loads of resources to revert the copper bulb." No, it won't.
Like,
they already coded it. They removed it. It was already coded.
That's all you do.
It is quite literally the question. Now I wish it was faster.
It is literally the question of a single variable change. Instead of adding a tile tick for 2 game ticks, add a tile tick for a single game tick. Literally a single letter change.
I am content with the way Redstone is right now, as of 1.21.
Hey!
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. I guess it took me a little while to like really decide, but I'd say that I'm content in that I've kind of always been happy with the general state of things. And I personally don't deal with anything too complex or the things that meddle with crazy timings. The closest I ever got was just some crazy locationality issues with hoppers and things. But this isn't to say that Redstone is perfect in its current state and I never want it to change. I do want it to change. But I am content. Like, I will continue to play this game, even if it does stay in this state forever. There's enough here to do stuff and keep me busy and keep me entertained. But I do, want new things in the future, right?
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I mean, like, I'm also like, I don't think it's perfect, but for the things I do, like, I don't know, it seems to be good enough. I'm able to do all the things I want to be able to do. Like, I don't have any major grudges. Like, I don't have any things that I've been wanting for a really long time or anything. I also don't really do the typical type of redstone that most people do, so I guess my opinion is a little bit different. That's why I honestly thought I was gonna be the only one to agree with this, because I just have such a small section of redstone that I actually deal with. Like, I don't even use pistons, so
So the reason why I said yes was because I think the core actual mechanics of the redstone, with how repeaters work, how pistons work, how hoppers work, is pretty much perfect. The issues I have are outside of that, such as bugs or other mechanics like in Bedrock where chunk borders are unreliable. But I think the redstone system that they designed years ago when they first added these components is near perfect, and they've done a perfect job of putting that in the game.
That's a really good point. I guess that's another way to interpret it. Like the components are honestly fine. It's just like bugs and stuff.
Matt, I can already think of a feature that you would want in the game.
Yeah.
Specifically for your type of redstone.
Oh, color screens?
No. Well, maybe that. But also, but also, this would make your life so much easier when doing big computational builds. Downwards glass.
Okay, I would want that, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a Bedrock feature that I've wanted in Java for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Wait, glass works both ways in Bedrock?
Yes, and when I've mentioned that, a lot of Java players say, well, you know, not having it go down is very useful one-way redstone, but we still do have that mechanic in slabs, so it's just glass that does it.
Like it goes downwards on one side of stairs, but doesn't go down on the other 3 sides, and it doesn't go down
That's
slabs.
so nice. What?
That's not a mechanic on Bedrock, but I have wished for that one. That one would be amazing to have on both versions. Is the stair and directionality?
It's very useful. Like, and yeah, I've wanted that for a while. Also, the soft inversions with the torches, where you put it on the side of a piston and extend it, and it will turn off the torch.
Perfect.
That's something as well.
Perfect redstone.
But like, yeah, those are some of the things I've wanted, and I just won't be content with Java until we have them.
So the reason why I didn't go forward, I can't really look at Redstone and say that, oh yeah, I'm satisfied right after the whole copper bulb saga. Like Mojang added a new redstone component, which was absolutely perfect. I don't think I've seen a single negative opinion from the actual technical and redstone community saying that, oh, why is the copper bulb one game tick? That's stupid, revert it. No, everyone, every redstoner agreed that, yeah, good job, Mojang, you did it. You finally added something that is perfect, and they removed it. Like, how can I be satisfied with this lurking in the background? Also, I also want to talk about one feature which is already in the game, which has been in the game for almost 2 years at this point, if not over 2 years. Skulk sensors. So Skulk sensors are so full of bloatware. Like Windows is so much lighter than Skulk sensors. Like that is insane. Like the channels don't make any sense. Every single time you want to do anything with Skulk sensors, you actually have to go through the wiki to figure out, on which frequency does a frog? No, that's not how the frog sounds. Croaks. You know, the ribbit.
The game has been getting very bloated lately. I've done storage systems, and the amount of chests that I have had to add recently to my newer storage systems just to support all these new items that they're adding is insane. It's almost doubled in size since I started playing, and I don't know why they're adding so many items that do one specific thing. When I remember a long time ago seeing a interview with Notch where he was saying that every item in Minecraft doesn't just do one thing, but it seems like they have completely strayed off from that idea.
Yeah, when it comes to the sheer amount of items and the storage required, like storage tech is my passion, don't get me wrong, but like the amount of unique items is actually getting insane.
On Bedrock, it's just like it's so unreliable, like ticks and stuff. Like I get that the components are fine and like at their basic level, but I like to also experiment with the technical side, and it's just like I don't know, it's just unreliable every time I go to do something really technical. I know that there's a big difference between there's a big difference between Java and Bedrock, obviously, but like I would love a 1-tick piston that can spit out its blocks. I mean, I don't know how many other people would love that, but I would. There's just like there's so many little things. Like I've tried to figure out how P and C ticks work, which is like how we split up the game into like 20 ticks and stuff.
Yeah,
but that was a nightmare. I hate
that blocks move with that.
Yeah, I had to read like Google Docs and stuff like that based off people just using command blocks and hoping that based off of random spots in a tick and how it works. And I'm like there's got to be a better way to do it, more like Java, where you guys have like the power sources located closer to like the spot you're powering it and stuff powers first. That just makes sense, and I don't understand why Bedrock's gotta be so unreliable.
Redstone parity would do more harm than good.
All right.
Right,
I mean, I kind of feel like it would just have way more backlash than it would be worth it for. Like, I can see people getting used to it eventually, but at this point, when Minecraft's been out for this long, it feels like too big of a change to actually work.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, how would you even implement it? Like, there are some core mechanics between the two versions which are completely different. Like, for example, if I remember correctly, on Bedrock, observers take 6 game ticks to finally power something, right? After being triggered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something.
except
It
if it's
is
another
rid-
observer.
It is ridiculous. What?
Yeah.
So there are exceptions. Great. So it is a ridiculous difference in timings. Like, how the heck are they supposed to make a parity for that? This is just impossible.
Yeah,
Like,
you're gonna have
either,
to just choose some things.
well, except like it is impossible. Like any kind of attempt at making the redstone behavior between the two versions basically requires one of the version or both of the versions redstone to break completely. Everyone in the community in both versions would have to relearn quite
Yeah.
literally everything, all the mechanics. It is just a bad idea, in my opinion. It is just a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everything that I'd ever made on both Bedrock and Java would be broken no matter how they did it. Because even the stuff
Yeah.
like one-tick sticky pistons, I use stuff like that in Bedrock. If they try and parity that, that's all that stuff broken. I don't think it's possible for them to do it at this stage anyways. If they wanted to do it, they should have done it when they
Yeah.
had the chance making Bedrock. I
Yeah.
think they've gone way too
Yeah.
past that point now.
I was thinking about
I
that.
mean,
It's just way too late. They could have done it, but it's too late, man.
Yeah.
If we think from the user's perspectives, all these people are Googling tutorials. And so, like,
Mhm.
sure, there's the struggle between Bedrock or Java tutorial. But if we do parity, it's going to break all of the old tutorials almost. And that's
Yep.
just going to cause so many videos on the internet that aren't going to help anyone anymore. And I don't think people are going to take down their videos because, again, they're getting views. You know what I mean? Every person's
Yeah.
trying to help themselves at least.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, views are
I
cool.
feel like there's gonna be so many videos online. Yeah, there's gonna be so many videos online that aren't gonna help anybody, and it's just gonna make the user's experience trying to find tutorials way worse if they try to even implement parity.
Yeah, that'd be every video I've ever made just become useless overnight, which is like not very good for me and not good for everyone trying to use them.
And I
Yeah.
don't think you're gonna delete all your videos tomorrow.
I don't want to, no. I'd rather they stay.
So the reason why I said that it won't is it just depends on how they implement it. And I've always thought the way they should have done it is to add rather than remove features. So, when they added deep slate, I was always imagining like how nice would it be to have both pistons instead of just forcing one side to give up their piston mechanics. And I mean, yeah, it's another block, but they're both useful. And the issue probably Mojang sees with parity is that kids are looking up Redstone videos on YouTube. They see a Java farm, they build it on Pocket Edition, and it doesn't work. So maybe they want to reach a point of parity that someone could make a build that works both on Java and Bedrock, as long as you're mindful of that. It's still possible, but it's very difficult. You have to avoid a lot of things. But if they made it to a point that you could for most farms, then maybe that's what Mojang's hoping, just universal farming.
Yeah, dude, I think it's like that door, that 3x3 door that's allegedly from that voice we keep hearing, is parity between Java and Bedrock now, right? This is a game that like there should eventually be a version 2.0 with how it's going. Like at least by 2.0, we gotta have like 2 pistons at least. At least, man.
I kind of half agree and half. Well, I kind of like half agree, half disagree because Crafty deliberately left the question vague. So like, I'm looking at this from the glass half full POV. Like, ultimately, if we had parity done properly by someone who understands Redstone and is in close contact with the Redstone communities, then yes, it would ultimately be good for the game. But then, like JKM said, Mojang has a habit of adding new parity problems every update. So you would also need a developer who is able to maintain that parity long term. They never introduce new parity problems. They make sure that there is parity with every new feature as well. And if they were able to do that in a perfect world, then yes, parity would be good for the game. But it's unrealistic to assume that because, it's Mojang, and also, but it is technically possible because like they're two different programming languages, but they are Turing complete. They can achieve the same exact behavior. It's just that it's incredibly unlikely because of there's so many factors at play stopping us from having true Redstone parity, and it's just not feasible.
As far as parity is concerned, I have a weird kind of like stance on it, in that I firmly do believe that one of the Minecraft versions, probably Java, is going to die. From a logistical standpoint, I think I'm thankful, but it's quite ridiculous that they have two different dev teams maintaining two different versions of the game simply because one is legacy. I'm on Java just because that's what I grew up with. And I do believe that it's going to be phased out eventually. And when that happens, I mean, I thought about all kinds of like things that were already brought up, like all the tutorials that will be invalidated by such a thing, and what JKM was saying about how every single new update creates an even bigger monster out of this parody thing that's already a monster. So I really don't know if parity will ever be achieved, but I firmly do believe that one version of the game will, I guess, kind of reign supreme in a way. And when that happens, it's going to be a huge growing pain. But, we as humans, we're resilient to change. We hate it at first, and we will be very resistant to it. But we'll have to adapt. And when we all get used to it and we all are playing on one version of Minecraft, it's going to be easier for the players and especially for the devs, I'd say.
However that parity will come, like some of us have been saying, and Pistons being that example, I think there is going to be like a heavy piston or a light piston just to make sure that like this quasi connected door maybe is a light piston, and the slow bedrock piston is the heavy piston. It takes longer. It kind of makes sense, but it's to say that parity is going to is more bad than good. I disagreed, because it's like, this is not just Minecraft 1 and then in like next year you have to download the new one and pay another $60 or whatever.
The only problem is we doubled the amount of redstone components.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's fair.
I've seen some people saying that like, oh, well, some people want QC and some people don't want QC, so they should just add a game rule. But the problem is that means that then people have to type in a command to make a certain redstone build work. And then if they go and get another build from YouTube that has the game rule on the opposite setting, like if one build needs it enabled and the other build needs it disabled, then those two builds, you can't have them in the same world. It's a terrible idea. So if you want to have both QC and non-QC pistons in the game, they need to be separate items. The
current Mojang approach, I do not agree with at all in any way. I've made many bug reports about some useful parity things that would just help the game, and they always get labeled as works as intended. And there are little small things such as logs blocking tree growth in a tree farm, and that's just a single tag that they have to change. It's not hard to do, and if they're gonna just cherry pick very few mechanics, it just creates like this weird divide and annoyance. I feel like they should either go all out or keep them separate.
They're kind of in this weird middle ground where they kind of half promise it sometimes and then do things that make it seem like they're just never planning to do it. So they really gotta make up their mind if they ever want a chance of it ever happening, then they have to make up their mind like now. Otherwise, just forget about it.
In case anybody that's watching doesn't know, the dev teams for Bedrock and Java are on the other side of the world. They're completely apart physically. So, and I've talked to some Bedrock devs, and they have absolutely no communication between each other. Even new features, they completely develop separately. They don't communicate. And that's clearly where we get those issues where, like raid farms when they're added, that was like when they were peak talking about parity, and the mechanics work absolutely completely different. And then, I can understand bugs being different, but when the mechanics themselves that they coded are different, that's just an issue of them not trying.
Well,
Or,
it could
committing
also
to
just
it.
be.
I agree.
Yeah, it could be two teams just getting the same set of requirements, and no one's going to implement those requirements the same way as another person you never talk to. So you get these tiny little differences, and it's just awful.
Yeah,
I
well,
wasn't able to
sometimes they're
get
not
it
just
there,
tiny.
boss.
Sometimes they're huge. Like
Sometimes
the
they're
Wither
huge.
being like actually tough in Bedrock, and then it being a joke in Java.
Yeah, like the raid farms, the Bedrock mechanics were just plain worse, and the Java ones were just easier and faster. And then all of a sudden, they do pull out parity, but only for the raid cooldown. So now Bedrock raid farms were even worse because of a parity issue, and now it's even farther apart, even though it's supposed to bring them closer. So now it seems like they're not looking at the context of everything, and just maybe one dev is like, oh, this might be a good idea, and they just go through with it. It just doesn't seem consistent.
Oh, we should start a podcast, guys. That is
Literally,
that is actually entertaining even for me.
The Redstone community is toxic. Can the agreeers step forward?
Toxic. Like toxic, like how? Toxic, like cinnamon, or toxic, like something worse than cinnamon?
Like fireflies are for frogs.
No.
So I can weigh on this because I come from the door community, and historically it's been quite an elitist part of the Redstone community. Like, a lot of people compete to get world records on there, and like, you might build something, you've spent a long time on it, you're very proud of it, and then someone will come along and say, oh, that's crap, like you like, because it's not a world record or anything, and it's just like, yeah, but I made this for myself. It's like, yeah, but come back when it's smaller, or come back when it's faster, like, there were so many times when I was like learning to make better doors, where someone would just like be instantly comparing my build to the world record when I had built it with my own set of like goals anyway. Like, I might not have been going for a world record. I might have been going for something that was just a nice combination of small and fast. And like, yeah, people just come along and trash my work basically because it doesn't fulfill their perfect requirement of being a world record. And also, there have been other times, just like, especially with the tech community, actually, there are some I want to say slightly elitist parts of the tech community. Not as bad as the door community was. I guess JKM can attest to that because he is part of the tech community.
How do I talk about this group of people without being toxic myself? Ooh.
I don't think you can really.
I think the main issue.
But he knows from being deep in the tech community.
Yeah, there are some people like this group of individuals.
So JKM, it's starting to sound like you're agreeing right now.
No, because the question was, is the Redstone community toxic? I don't think the entirety of the Redstone community.
Okay, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Vague.
Okay, so I should shut up. Okay,
We'll get to that when you get put in the box. Okay. Anyone else want to speak on this?
But yeah, I do think the issue is it kind of brews toxicity because we do have some things that are measurable, such as rates or the speed of a door. But the other half of the build is subjective, like whether you want it to be small and fast or just the absolute fastest door. And that's where it becomes like you see the numbers and you're like, yeah, but this is better. But there's also the subjective part. And then that's where people get in arguments or elitism. And I think that's where the toxicity gets real.
It's fine to have healthy competition, but as soon as it turns into just people like using their accomplishments to trash on each other, then it's just like, what are you doing? Like, stop. Stop it. You're making a bad example of the Redstone community. This is how you are presenting the Redstone community to everyone else.
Yeah. So as far as like toxicity from like my perspective where I stand, I am not like that good of a redstoner, honestly. I've been doing it for a long time, but I don't do like super advanced things. And because of it, it actually has informed me a large part in how I run my channel. Um, Before I started YouTube, I'd been observing the toxicity of the Redstone community and the elitism that Purple had just mentioned. And I run my YouTube channel in a very kind of inviting sort of way, specifically to sort of like combat that nature of it. And I think Purple, correct me if I'm wrong, but for like my music machine video, we ran into locationality issues, and turns out we actually weren't able to fix it. But like I heard from you, I think it was you. Like people were apparently like messaging you being like, "Hey, have you seen this guy? Like you seen this video that he wasn't able to resolve the locationality issues, like what
literally,
a noob."
They DM'd me basically pulling an actually that kind of thing.
And it's funny that they do that to you and not me.
Yeah. Oh,
it's classic talking behind my back, and I'm not saying that the whole community is toxic. I mean, JKM obviously, like you're right. Not, the whole community is not toxic. I mean, this room is full of people who I'd say aren't. But in general, it kind of has that reputation, I'd say.
It's not always like toxic. Like they might have just been like trying to in a friendly way point out a way you could have done it better, and that's fine. That's just constructive criticism. It's their attitude and how they do it. Like when I made my Rubik's Cube video, there was this really obnoxious Reddit commenter who was saying, needlessly complicated, but it's cool, I guess. And then like, yeah, it's just
that's
like,
just Reddit, dude.
Yeah, that is just Reddit, but like that he is. But the guy commenting it, I can't remember his name, but he was quite a regular member of the Redstone community. This was on r/Redstone, I believe. So, and he's active in quite a few Redstone communities. So it's not like it's just it's a one-time thing. He is the person I made it with, Nano. He is a moderator on r/Redstone, and he's seen this guy being basically a dick to loads of people. Sorry about that.
I think I know who you're talking about.
So I do think that the tech community compared to other communities does brew toxicity because of those, measurable differences like the speed. Building, it's all subjective, so you can't point out and just print a receipt at someone's build saying like all the problems with it, like you can with tech community. And I think that's where the toxicity gets generated compared to other areas of Minecraft. So that's why I agreed.
Let's go.
So I already kind of started talking about it, and you guys also, well, the agreeers already started kind of talking about it. Definitely, I don't think the entire Redstone community is toxic. Hell no. I am an admin on a technical server called WaveTech. We have 9,000 Discord members, plus all the members of the actual SMP. The actual members are so freaking nice, like just all over the place. Whenever anyone needs help, everyone is so is going to spend some time helping, right? Designing things, generally stuff like that. There are some bad apples in the technical community, definitely. I could point a couple people. I will not, because that's not the point of this video, right? But I mean, every single community has those people, right?
Yeah.
You can't really have such a big community of like on WaveTech, for example, 9,000. We are actually near 10,000 members on Discord. It's impossible to have such a big community without some bad apples who think that they can treats everyone like they're dog crap. I have to censor myself. I hate it.
Guys, you could swear, okay? You could swear in the video.
Bleep exists.
Fuck shit, thank you.
Bro is going through withdrawals.
That exploded out of him.
There was also an argument, well, a point, really, about elitism, right? There are some people who are like very good at doing some things, like, for example, like you, Purple, said, designing doors, or like, for example, in the technical community, there are people who are very good at some flying machines or stuff like that. Maybe TNT cannons. Oh my god, TNT cannon people are so elitist. Such elitists. It is insane. It is absolutely insane.
I think this answer changes a lot based on where you spend most of your time. Like, you know, I'm also in a Discord server. I have arguably the biggest like computational only Redstone Discord server type thing. We have like I think 10,000 people now, and like people are just really supportive in there. Like anytime someone is making something new or wanting to show a project or literally anything, it's like really great. Like I can't even think of any like bad apples off the top of my head, because usually they just don't really get anywhere with that kind of behavior in my server. But you know, it depends where you spend your time, who you're kind of interacting with. I mean, obviously once you get to a certain point, you're gonna have people that are leaving mean comments. I mean, I get mean comments all the time, like people trying to be elitist and are toxic about this stuff. But I think like overall, I would definitely say it's not super toxic. And there are definitely a lot of other games that are like way worse, I'd say too. I think that's another reason I had to disagree. Like this is really not that bad compared to some other communities I've been in.
The reason why I didn't think it's toxic, because you know it's like we're humans. You're gonna have some people that'll like jump on something just to be pissed and like, well, I'm good at this. I know how to blah 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 blah, nerd, and nerd to the point that they forget that like, you know, other people are like watching it and seeing it. Like, so full disclosure, I got 2 kids and my son is like a teenager, and I'm like observing this and I'm just like, yeah, damn, I remember when I was in high school and middle school. I'm like, this is a rough time. So like, especially like these communities that like excel at these crafts, there's like a 14-year-old kid on Matt's server that's like built this one computer already. And I was like,
we have a lot of people that are very intimidating and very smart. It's kind of crazy.
And he's 14.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, this is probably like a teenager, so I'm not even gonna sweat any of the things.
Dude, I'm getting imposter syndrome like a lot nowadays. Like,
right. These kids will grow up. They will be really good at Redstone, and I can't even dream how impressive I think Redstone will be in the future, and get myself down because of toxicity. You know what I mean? It's just like I want to learn the concept to have the fun and like get past all of the world record chasing and clout chasing essentially, and to the like the B-dubs perfect Redstone. You know, like I'm just doing it for the fun. Like I just had like a long ass work day. I want to get home, plop on the couch for a little bit, chill in my like my Superman farming sim, and like make a computer inside a computer. Like, what's wrong with that? Like,
I just wanted to say from my experience, so like there's other aspects of Minecraft, and like on Discord when I'm joining servers, I always feel hesitant when I'm joining other servers, except for like I don't know what it is, but every time it's a Redstone server, I almost like jump on the opportunity to join it, because I don't know what it is for me, but from my experience, I always feel welcomed, like, you know, in Redstone servers I go to. I mean, no matter the size, whether it's really small or really huge. But if I join like some like other aspect of Minecraft, I'm not gonna say what aspects it is, but if I join one of those servers, I always feel like they're already targeting me and kind of like, you know, making like, oh, I'm better than you. But I don't know, it's for Redstone, it's always been like, oh, cool, you built something. Let me go check out your build. I'll go, you know, check out his build. Oh, cool, I'm gonna learn something new, see something really cool I haven't seen before, and I get the opportunity to actually do this.
We need more Redstone content creators. Step forward if you agree. Okay, pretty unanimous. I guess you guys can start talking.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So I feel
like,
Oh, go right ahead.
so
I think.
mean,
sorry.
as a Redstone content creator myself, like I think I'm probably like everyone knows Mumbo, right? But also, that's basically the only Redstone YouTuber most people know. Like, and so obviously I'm constantly being compared to Mumbo being British and being a Redstone guy. Like,
Same,
so
bro.
like I got a lot of comments like from people saying, bro thinks he's Mumbo Jumbo. Oh, this guy is just budget Mumbo Jumbo, that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of also there's just a lot of people who assume that like a lot of non-Redstone YouTubers are like the best Redstoners ever. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that there are so many good Redstoners out there. The only problem is they're good Redstoners, but they're not good YouTubers. They're not very good at packaging stuff into, you know, into a nice video that's well presented and like with good commentary and stuff.
Yeah, like, dude, the whole reason why I even hopped on to making YouTube videos is that what I noticed from the community is that problem solving aspect is just like, how then do I like package like what I know to dispense it with others, because we don't have things like what Minecraft was hoping to have is like portals where you can jump into somebody's world and be able to like capture a part of their build and take it back to your world and deploy it, because you know there's parity and all this other stuff. How do people package this to share the concept to like maybe like shoot, this might even get rid of some of the toxicity?
So yeah, I think the difficulty of content creation with Redstone is, if you're an SMP player, your video is you playing the game. But with Redstone, you play the game, and then after the fact that you're done playing, you have to go back and record what you've already done from a separate perspective, and that just adds a lot more time, a lot more effort, and I think that's why we don't have many content creators, because it takes so much more time and effort. People would rather just play the game than spend their time making videos.
Yeah. There is a bigger like prerequisite to being a Redstone YouTuber. You need to have like some level of Redstone skill. Then you need to make something. Then afterwards you need to go back and record stuff. And so it's just a less efficient content creation process. There's more steps to it. And also it's making Redstone stuff. It's not like building a house because when you're building a house, there is an end in sight. Like when the house looks good and you've got enough details in it, you can consider it done. When you're doing a Redstone build, there's not really much of a way to predict when it will be done, because you need to make it work for it to be done. And there's no way to predict that. I
would really like to see more people that just record as they build and just kind of spit it into some like, walk through, like, here's my thought process as I like made the entire thing. Even if it's really long, like I feel like that style has like almost no one that even tries to do it. Like a lot of people just build it and then just do the story afterwards because it's easier.
Yeah, that's how you do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
More or less.
I mean, a little bit
some
of
my older stuff was like me walking through, but eventually I was just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like it's so much easier to just like build it in my free time, not have to worry about like, always recording while as you're building, and like I'd rather just tell the story afterwards.
That's the trouble, because it's like you have to concentrate, and it's really difficult to concentrate on what you're doing while also being a commentary person, like while also doing a running commentary over what you're doing. It's just
it's
really
difficult.
tough.
It takes a lot of effort to actually make an entertaining-ish video. Like I'm still not 100% proud of my videos, though I'm trying. But yeah, this is kind of a high bar of entry, to be fair. People really underestimate how long making good videos takes.
To add on to JKM's point, I'm also a technical YouTuber, so people build my builds in their world. So they want a block by block tutorial, they want a world download, they want structure block, and then they build it, and then they have issues, so they come ask me, and I have to help them, and or an update breaks something, and it adds a lot more work past just the part of the game I really enjoy of actually building the thing, and that's where I kind of struggle with a lot.
I know exactly what you're talking about, not from like first person perspective, but from Cubic Meter's perspective. So Cubic Meter is a member of Wavetech of the server, which I am an admin of. Like 90% of all the questions in Ask for Help are just stupid people. I will stand by it. Those are stupid people who cannot find the fucking download link, but can somehow find the Discord join link. How the fuck do you manage to skip over the download link, make your way to the bottom, absolute bottom of the description, join the Discord, which requires you to make a fucking account, and then you ask the question. It really does get annoying, even
I
for
think
us. And
also-
what Cubic has to experience is much more.
I think this is also another thing, is that when you're doing something like a PvP YouTuber, you don't really have any kind of outside obligations after you've made the video. Whereas if you're doing if you're a Redstone tutorial channel, then you're kind of half expected to become tech support for your own build. Like people will come to you asking how to make it work.
We're not doing a good job making people want to be a Redstone YouTuber right now.
Yeah. Also, do we need more? That's the question.
We need more.
We need more
recording tools.
We need more, but it's also not the most enticing thing, because being a PvP YouTuber or like an SMP YouTuber is way more enticing to most people.
Actually,
basically.
hold on, guys.
Oh yeah.
Why do we want more Redstone YouTubers? Like,
Yeah,
we could
yeah.
form a cartel. We could have all the views, billions of views. That is like gazillion dollars right there.
An elitist cartel to keep new Redstone talent out. Yes.
So,
Sounds
okay.
perfect.
I think more Redstone creators would kind of be like, I guess like a self-perpetuating like machine, right? Because YouTube these days has a lot of power. And, you know, we've mentioned a few times that the Redstone community is still small. It's still niche within Minecraft, despite it, in my opinion, being the single coolest thing in the game. But, you know, the more Redstone YouTubers there are, the more the community on it, like as a whole, will grow, which will breed more Redstone content creators, and it should be really nice.
The average Redstone, they have like a different definition to what constitutes a Redstone YouTuber than what the average person would. Because if someone is just copy and pasting farms from Reddit and then presenting themselves as a Redstone YouTuber, no, that doesn't really count. There are a lot of people out there who pose as Redstone YouTubers, but who are actually not, because all they're doing is re-uploading other people's stuff. They'll browse Reddit and then post to this farm that someone else made or whatever.
I mean, on Bedrock, do people in here know who Bowtieman is? I know Crafty is over there.
Oh yeah.
But,
Yes, I've heard of him.
Since he's left, I don't know anybody else that's actually more than like 50,000 subscribers that is an actual Redstone YouTuber. Like, there's no one on Bedrock who is that actually makes tutorials. Like,
the closest was a Navy Nexus, but you know he's quit the game. So since then, it's just been a complete void.
Exactly. Like, there's so many spots that could be filled by different types of Redstone content as well. Like, you have tutorials
there.
And then you have every other type of Redstone, but nobody's doing it anymore, especially on Bedrock. Like, nobody's there.
I'm trying.
And there are so many more players on Bedrock than Java Edition. So the amount of people that search for Bedrock, you know, little farms, like you'll see these channels that steal builds put like, oh, the fastest, and they'll have millions and millions of views, but they don't have to not waste, but use their time actually building these stuff, and they can just focus solely on stealing and re-uploading the builds that they profit, while, you know, the Redstoners are just in the background, not getting the showcase.
Yeah, so for the Bedrock Redstoner that's watching this, huge opportunity.
Yeah.
Huge opportunity.
Redstone is hard to learn.
Yeah, so
interesting.
In some ways, Redstone is pretty hard to learn because there's
Mac, welcome back.
He's back. Yeah, there's like the basics are quite easy to learn. Like, it's very easy to learn the delays of repeaters and stuff, and like it's very easy to learn how they connect together. But then beyond that, you're kind of on your own, because you still need to build up an intuition of how to put them together in the correct ways, and you need to build an intuition on how to problem solve, and that stuff is very hard to teach, and that's probably the most important skill needed for Redstone.
I think
the problem solving bit and the putting it together bit.
I mean, literally anyone can learn about the components. It's not hard. You just look up how they work on some wiki or something, but actually making a project that
Jazzy. Are you
Changes
agreeing?
his mind.
I also think another difficulty is that we've taken it past what Mojang has done.
Yeah.
You know, we have our own mechanics and terms. Like, I'm pretty sure JKM knows, like, you tell someone new, hey, you need a shulker box splitter. That's not part of the game. That's something we made up. We put a name to it, and there's no way to really look that up and learn it other than just eventually absorbing everything while being in the community. I think that's why it takes a while.
I will say something that doesn't help is that a lot of people don't publish their stuff on YouTube. You have to go into archive discords to find it. And then something that makes it even more difficult is that no shade to the technical community, JKM, but a lot of technical people suck at naming things. They really suck at naming
Hell
things.
yeah, I agree.
Like,
I absolutely love when the tree farm I want to make is called That's not an exaggeration. Look it up.
It's literally called something like 12 core UTC -2 plus 5
UTC
to the power of 4. Like,
there is also HL for honeyless, DS for dustless. Dust updateless. So DUS. This is very funny. Self-sufficient SS. Sometimes may get added. It is terrible. Absolute bullshit.
But you can tell that
the
those
naming
kinds
scheme isn't really the.
Oh, his internet died mid-sentence.
Unfortunate. anyways. Yeah, back on track. Redstone is hard to learn.
I feel like we have to take the actual player base into account as well. Like, Minecraft is a game from what? Is it 7+? It says on the App Store.
Start again.
Okay, so I don't really think the naming schemes, which are bad, are the reason why Redstone is hard. It's just that the more complex thing you want to make, the more complex, well, obviously, the more complex it becomes, right? Like, if you want to make a tree farm, everyone understands that a dispenser can fire bone meal into a sapling. Of course, that's easy to learn. Then how do you wire, for example, 4 dispensers to fire into a single sapling? Also, you have to supply the dispensers with bone meal. You have to unload shulker boxes that you bring in with the bone meal. You have to manage the output. So there is a bit of storage stack. There is a lot of piston action because you want to make the farm fast, right? So you gotta learn how to use pistons quickly, how zero ticks work, like. And you gotta make it compact because you're gonna have your balls cut if the tree farm makers see that your tree farm is not compact, right?
Yeah.
So like actually doing Redstone on a competitive level is stupidly hard to get to and learn.
Yeah.
Like, you basically have to do Redstone on your own for actual years, analyzing other people's circuits, solutions, and so on, and like kind of rewiring your brain to make it work, right? It is insanely difficult.
There is another problem as well that, like, you can learn how the individual components work easily, but learning the interactions between them is a lot more difficult. Like, in Java, we have tile tick priority with repeaters, which decides which repeaters are processed first. That is not explained very well by anyone, really. And you have to dig quite deep to find out that information. And on the Bedrock side, there is no tile tick priority at all. Everything is random in the update order. So people have to discover that by themselves as well. So it's like there's hidden layers to how the game works.
There needs to be more documentation for advanced stuff. Like,
So, okay, yeah, the reason why I was over there initially is that the basics are easy to grasp. You can kind of do it like in an afternoon, to be honest. But the thing that kind of brought me over here was that I agree that there is little to no documentation or like curriculum or like taking your Redstone to the next level per se. Like, let's say you're a beginner at Redstone and you want something that turns a button input into a lever like input. Everyone here knows that I'm now describing a T flip flop. But if you were never told that, you would not know that word even exists. So you wouldn't even know where to look. You might even end up trying to invent one by yourself and hitting a wall. So that part is definitely like hard. If I compare Redstone to like learning how to play guitar, right? You can learn a few chords pretty easily and then put the chords together and play your very first song pretty fast. But the chords in this case are like redstone dust, repeaters, pistons, comparators, etc. And the song is like a full original contraption. The gap between learning chords and learning songs in Redstone is quite big, in my opinion. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
I mean, as a guitar player, I get what you mean with that analogy, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I was originally over there because the basics are easy to learn, but developing the language of Redstone takes a very long time and resources are very hard to find.
On the technical Minecraft wiki, like I remember you guys, if you guys heard of Myron, right? He's a very talented code digger. He came up with a lot of bedrock breaking exploits, and like he made some contributions to the technical Minecraft wiki too. Like he's a really smart guy, but his explanations were like really, really hard to understand for anyone who doesn't already know all this specialist terminology. It just makes it all the more inaccessible. So
I feel like that's like one of the main reasons there's not good documentation, because it's just not people who have like both the technical skills and the explaining skills at the same time.
Oh yeah, stage presence.
There is a saying that like, oh, if you really understand a topic, you would be able to explain it easily. Like that's not entirely true.
No, that's just not true.
It's not entirely true. You can have a good understanding without being able to explain it very well. It's just that a lot of Redstoners are not good at explaining their stuff at all.
So do you want to go first, Mechanical Robot? You want me to?
No, you can go.
Okay, so I feel like the talk is like, because it's a vague question and stuff, is about the communities, like how the community like has evolved, so now it's harder for new people to get into it. But the components themselves that Mojang gives us are pretty simple that you can learn. I know it's kind of tricky with tutorials and technical stuff is tricky to learn, but Redstone itself, like the simplest parts are really easy. And like, over time, tomorrow I'm not going to build a tree farm, obviously. But over time, learning the mechanics of the game, I will eventually learn because the mechanics themselves are simple. It's just the idea of putting the mechanics that are like really simple together to make that complex thing that makes like the community and stuff like that standard.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like it and that musical reference was like key to it. It's like is Redstone hard to learn? I disagree because it's like, all right, well, if it's like anything, you got to learn the basics. And I think Mojang did a pretty decent job of just using Boolean logic with like the Redstone components. It's just
true.
Basic, simple, like, and it could even start like your Redstone journey from opening a door to a basic AND gate for a mini game. Like, well, how do I get like if a one guy's over here and one guy's here, activate a door. Like they'll think of it as simply like that, and then go down this whole rabbit hole of like, what? Like this is a computer is basically a bunch of people standing on on like pressure plates and AND gates and NOT gates and XORs and all of this, like just everything. But it's like, the simple logic system that gets us there. So it's root. It's not hard to learn. I don't think. Like if at your simplest you want to open a door to your base, let your friends in. Maybe you're tired of going the whole way there every time. You then wire some redstone from your top floor down to that door to let them in. Like it, and then it goes on this whole thing of like complexity or to your pleasure of like of wanting to learn Redstone, you know?
Yeah, like just a 3x3. Like it was a big thing when someone originally created a 3x3, and now like the
Yeah.
community, everyone's like, oh yeah, I built a 3x3. It's not that good, but like that is a big advancement for like
Yeah.
before it was even created.
Exactly. They'll try anything because like it's about the your base presence. Like you want your the thing you coming home to. Like some of us are like storage tech or technical players or whatever, and it's like it appeals to like what we do when we theoretically like all right when we go back home to our base we're like dropping some stuff off and we want our stuff to be organized or we want a button push armor thing and like like we go through different paths to get there.
What would you say to a new Redstoner? How would you go about learning Redstone? And I guess what was your own personal journey to getting where you are today?
So
I would say get good at keyword searching because one of the biggest I would say one of the biggest problems with finding the information right now is not just that a lot of people don't post stuff to YouTube all the time, but also the YouTube algorithm. Because like the YouTube algorithm pushes down a lot of informative Redstone videos because they are generally quite long, and they also have low viewer retention, and so it will just get buried under more like entertainment focused content. And so that's just kind of an unfortunate reality. Like, so you have to get good at keyword searching because that's the only way you're going to find what you are looking for. And that also involves finding out all these terminologies and then going into these storage tech discords and all these technical discords and finding the words to type in.
I would say the biggest thing for me is to join a community. Interact with other Redstoners, and they can point things out. And that's the way I learn most of the time. I don't look things up; just people point things out, or I see things that people have made. And I've been in the Bedrock community for a very long time, and we don't have that much of a history compared to Java. But I've noticed that as our community has gotten a lot better at Redstone, the people that come in and start learning for the first time, compared to 2017, a 2024 player that just joined learns a lot more from the community now that we've gotten better, compared to ones from 2017, because just people are more knowledgeable overall and can communicate more, and there's just more people. So I think that's a huge, almost a requirement at this point to join a community and learn from there.
So in my opinion, the key to getting into Redstone and into Redstone communities is to, first of all, start watching Redstone YouTubers. Try to follow them actually from the start to the end. Like, don't skip. That is stupid. Join the Discords. Like, just see what the people in the Discords are talking about. And most importantly, actually play yourself and try to do Redstone on your own. Like that is kind of how I started playing technical Minecraft, right? Like, yeah, I've been watching Mango, XCOM, and unfortunately Razeworks back then. Oh man. But I actually just one day during the pandemic, I just started my own world, right? I started playing, trying to recreate what the big boys were doing, right? And well, over time, you just learn more and more.
So my personal Redstone journey kind of started with like a year or two of just blindly doing like watching tutorials and building them, being like, oh, cool, I flipped lever, it works. And then one day I was like, okay, but what's really going on? And I like dissected everything that I had copied and slowly like pieced everything together. And I think starting with just blindly copying is a great way to get started, because you'll put something in your world that is a really competent Redstone build, and you may not understand it today, but you could understand it in, I don't know, I can't give a timeline, but eventually you can understand it.
Another mistake that new Redstoners make is they always try to think of the Redstone thing as one massive circuit, and they don't actually split it down into multiple smaller circuits, which is really how you should think of it. You have a lot of small dedicated circuits doing one or two things that are then connected together.
Yeah, I want to add on to that as well. Just in case no one ever told you, the viewer, when you see color coded redstone lines, those aren't just to look cool. They actually are segmented that way. So study that in other people's builds and start doing it in your own builds. It's a lot less confusing.
And my personal journey from years ago was simply converting Java builds mostly from mumbo jumbo into Bedrock, and it forced me to understand why and what something does without just copy and pasting it. And the logic Mumbo has already made, but I have to fully understand it to be able to build it on Bedrock. So if you're a Bedrock player, and you want to figure out why something is done the way, try converting a mumbo jumbo build or something simpler to Bedrock, and you'll learn a lot.
That's actually like really, really, really good advice. Like, don't blindly copy it. I mean, blindly copying a tutorial is good. It has advantages, but I also like the idea of just like, okay, I see how this works. Here's the goal. Now let me just try to attack it in my own way.
From my experience being on Bedrock and stuff, where like there wasn't as many Bedrock tutorials growing up and stuff, I agree with you. I was just like always had to look at these Java tutorials, and you don't want to start with these huge tutorials. You always want to start with something small because it's less components and stuff like that. And also, it's just people always, like you guys were saying, it's a huge component. But like I would always, when something didn't work, I wanted to figure out, well, what's the difference between Java and Bedrock on why it doesn't work. And so then I'd spend hours wasting my life trying to figure out what a T flip flop was because I didn't know what that was. But
I have one more thing to say about complexity. Take steps at a time. Like, don't try to make a giant leap into a quarry or something like that.
Basically, don't try to run before you can walk. Don't go in the deep end.
I mean, even something as like
don't try to make a whole computer.
Don't go in the deep end.
Even something like a hidden crafting bench could be like really fun and challenging.
I started off by copying FedEx gaming tutorials, but they would never work for me though because I was so bad at following tutorials back then. So now I'm trying to make my tutorials as easy and as simple as I possibly can do. But then back then, I'd then have to try and reverse engineer what he was doing so that I could fix mine into something that would actually work. And eventually I got to the point where it was able to work and I could then do it to design my own things. But on top of that, I think it's really important that you know what version of the game you're actually on, because the amount of comments I get are people on Pocket Edition or people on Windows 10 that think they're on Java. Like, it's crazy, but like make sure you know what your components actually do and what version you're on. Otherwise, it's going to make a massive mess.
I also agree with Tom and Jazzy. Like, I don't know if any of you do music production, but one of the best ways to learn that is to recreate someone else's song by yourself and then try to figure out how they made each sound. And the same thing goes for Redstone. Like, one of the best ways to learn is to build someone else's Redstone build, break it down, try to understand it, and then try to make your own version of it, because you will learn way more by doing that, and you'll learn it way quicker, and it will cement itself in your head.
Joining a community and figuring these components out is like where you gotta start.
I am good at Redstone. Not CraftyMasterman, obviously, but the prompt is, I referring to yourself, I am good at Redstone. Do the agreeers want to step forward?
I like Redstone.
No, not that you like it. I am good at Redstone. That's the prompt.
I mean, it would be kind of sad if I'd spent like over 10 years doing this and not be somewhat good at it.
I'm good at it. I'm not the greatest. I'm good at it. Yeah.
Like, it's eventually you reach a point where you just do it without thinking a lot of the time. I don't think about a lot of the Redstone.
Yeah.
Oh, do you dream about it? Do you dream about Redstone at this point? And you're good at it.
You know, double dabble, man.
Oh god, the Redstone dreams.
Oh yeah, the Redstone dreams are a point of no return at that point.
Yeah, hold on. Do I dream about Redstone or do I have nightmares about Redstone? Unironically, no, that's
they're
not
both
a joke.
in your sleep.
Every time about Stevie stealing your build.
I mean, dude, if I didn't finish a build before we got here, I might have been a little bit more anxious. I'm like, oh my god, I can't solve that problem yet.
Redstone finishing withdrawal.
Yeah,
For example, whenever I start a big machine on SMP, I literally cannot sleep during the nights because I keep getting nightmares that it broke beyond repair or something like that. So like what I started doing is like I start the machine before going to sleep, and then I stop it. So like it runs, for example, if it's a quarry, for example, it runs for a couple cycles. I stop it, I sleep, then I start it the next day, and it's it's better.
Ooh,
I kind of consider myself a jack of all trades, master of none kind of person, because like I'm pretty good at doing doors. Am I the best? No. I'm also fairly good at technical Minecraft. Am I the best? Absolutely not. But I've also been learning a lot of computational redstone recently, like especially with the Rubik's Cube I did. Like I did that with my friend Nano, who is a computational redstoner. And he was teaching me a lot of stuff. And like, yeah, it's just I don't want to stick to one area of redstone because I would get incredibly bored if I did that. So I've just been learning different parts of it. I don't really want to become like the best at one area of redstone. I just want to
I'm the exact
do what I find
opposite.
fun.
I put all my skill points into computational redstone, and I barely know how a piston works. So, you know, that's the route I went.
Didn't you make
no,
your
dude?
first
It
piston
is
door recently?
No, I haven't made a 3x3. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like I've never made a 3x3, and it's so funny because a lot of people think that like they'll see one of my builds, they'll see like Tetris or something, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm over here trying to make a 3x3 door, and this guy's making Tetris." I'm like, dude, there's no correlation. Like that's I can't make a 3x3 door, so like
It's true.
You know,
that kind of
Same.
unrelated, but that is what I touched on in my "Who is the best redstoner" video. They are completely different disciplines.
Yeah, Jazzy, didn't you make a video on building your first 3x3?
Yeah, I documented my first 3x3.
That's probably the one I saw.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so as far as like am I good? Yeah, like I'm not elite obviously, but I think if you're to the point where you consider this a hobby and you think of ideas, and even if it takes you forever to find solutions, the fact that you're trying and you're tinkering and you're making headway and you speak the language of Redstone, I think you can consider yourself good, right? Like you don't have to be Jimi Hendrix to be good at guitar. This is another guitar thing, I guess. But yeah.
Well, if you're doing YouTube full time, technically you're a professional redstoner if you really think about it.
You can kind of relate it to programming in a way. Like I'm not a programmer, but like I've heard several programmers who say like you don't need to be able to memorize an entire programming language because loads of programmers like Google things and copy stuff off GitHub all the time.
Yeah.
You don't need to memorize every single little thing to be good at it. It's about the problem solving.
You can do a lot with just Googling and copying people. I'm always going onto other servers trying to like just yoink them.
Yeah, you have like a whole folder of schematics, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's literally the Minecraft equivalent of going onto GitHub and copying someone else's code.
Exactly.
Hey,
Heads up. That's what all engineers do.
Engineers, at the end of the day, are professional copiers.
Yay.
Yay. And with that was the last prompt. We are done. I think we have found middle ground as a Java and Bedrock Redstone.
To be honest, I was expecting these were pretty tame prompts. I was expecting way spicier stuff.
Spicier?
Can we have a private spicier version?
So yeah.
Okay, guys. Fuck, marry, kill.
Oh my god.
The other direction.
Exactly.